Everyone knows Warren Buffett is one of the wealthiest people on the planet, but the story of how he built his empire is probably not what you think. While the title of this video mentions a $200 billion empire, today Berkshire Hathaway's market cap is closer to a staggering $1 trillion. So how did he do it? It wasn't about complex algorithms, risky bets on tech, or chasing fads. The real story is far more interesting. It started with a failing textile company he bought back in 1962, a business seemingly destined to be forgotten. That company was Berkshire Hathaway. The force that turned it from a relic into a global powerhouse was a set of 7 foundational ideas. These were principles he learned from his mentor, Benjamin Graham, and then perfected over a lifetime. They're surprisingly simple, yet most people ignore them. In this video, we're breaking down the 7 core moves that built the legend of Berkshire Hathaway and how you can apply that same mindset starting today. The first and most important move wasn't a stock pick, it was a total shift in his thinking. Before he was the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett was a student at Columbia Business School, where he absorbed the teachings of Benjamin Graham, particularly from his revolutionary book, The Intelligent Investor. That book gave him one of the most powerful insights of his career. Graham taught that in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine driven by popularity and panic. But in the long run, it's a weighing machine driven by a company's actual underlying worth. The price of a stock and the value of a business are 2 totally different things. As Buffett says, price is what you pay, value is what you get. This became Buffett's first unbreakable habit. He stopped looking at stocks as blinking symbols on a screen and started seeing them for what they are, small pieces of a real business. Before buying anything, he would do the work to figure out its intrinsic value, what the company is truly worth based on the cash it will generate. He would only buy when the market, in a fit of pessimism, offered him a price way below that true value. This is the principle that let him buy iconic companies like American Express and Coca-Cola when they were deeply out of favor, building the foundation of his empire. He wasn't just buying cheap stocks, he was buying wonderful businesses on sale. Buffett's second move flows directly from the first, and it's designed to protect against the single greatest risk in investing, being wrong. This is the margin of safety. Learned from Graham, the idea is brutally simple. If you figure out a business is worth $1, you don't buy it for 90 cents. You wait until you can buy it for 60 or even 50 cents. That cushion is your margin of safety. It's a buffer that protects you from bad luck, unforeseen events, or just being plain wrong in your calculations. As Buffett has explained, using a bridge analogy, you build a bridge that can hold 30,000 pounds, but you only drive 10,000-pound trucks across it. That same logic applies to investing. This isn't about being timid, it's about being disciplined. He famously waits patiently for the market to make a mistake. He is, in his own words, fearful when others are greedy, and greedy only when others are fearful. This habit was his shield during market panics. While others were selling in a panic, his margin of safety allowed him to not only survive, but to go on the offensive, buying assets when they were at their absolute cheapest. Early in his career, Buffett was a pure Graham-style investor, buying what he called cigar butts, terrible businesses trading at ridiculously cheap prices. You could pick one up, get one last free puff, and throw it away. It worked, but it wasn't a great way to build an empire. His third major move was a huge philosophical shift, inspired by his legendary partner Charlie Munger. Munger convinced him of a new mantra: it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. This changed everything. Buffett stopped spreading his money thinly across dozens of mediocre cigar butts and started concentrating his capital into a handful of truly outstanding businesses. He began hunting for companies with a durable competitive advantage, or what he calls an economic moat. A moat could be a powerful brand, like Coca-Cola, a loyal customer base, like American Express, or a low-cost structure competitors can't match. A great business with a wide moat can grow its value for decades. This shift led to the massive, concentrated bets on companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, and Bank of America that form the bedrock of Berkshire's portfolio today. It was the move that turned his strategy from just finding bargains to owning pieces of the world's greatest companies. The fourth move is maybe the simplest, but also the hardest to follow. When asked about his favorite holding period, Buffett famously replied, "Forever." He learned that the stock market is a device for transferring money from the active to the patient. Short-term trading is often a losing game that racks up fees and forces emotional decisions. Real wealth isn't built by jumping in and out of stocks. It's built by letting the power of compounding work its magic over years and even decades. Buffett's habit is to pay attention to a company's long-term business performance, not the daily market swings or quarterly reports that cause so much noise. The real test for him is whether you'd be happy to own a stock if the market shut down for 10 years. Take his investment in Coca-Cola. He started buying in 1988. For decades, he largely held on, letting the company grow and the dividends roll in. While Berkshire has trimmed its position over the years, that single, patient decision has generated massive returns that short-term trading could never touch. By refusing to play the market's game, he lets time become his greatest ally. We're just over halfway through, and these next three moves are what really separate Buffett's mindset from almost everyone else. If you're getting value from this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and tells us you appreciate this kind of deep dive content. Now, let's get to the rule that protected him from the biggest bubble in modern history. Buffett's fifth move is a masterclass in intellectual humility. He says every investor needs to define their circle of competence and, more importantly, stay inside it. As he puts it, the size of that circle is not very important. Knowing its boundaries, however, is vital. This came from learning from his own mistakes. He learned that risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. If you can't explain how a business makes money and why it will be profitable in 10 years, you have no business owning it. His habit is to keep a too hard pile. Any business that's too complex or outside his expertise goes right into that pile. This is why he famously avoided most tech stocks during the dot-com bubble. He openly admitted he couldn't confidently predict their futures, so he just passed. People called him old-fashioned. Then the bubble burst, and Berkshire was left standing, while many others were wiped out. He only invested in Apple decades later, once he understood its business not as a pure tech company, but as a consumer products company with an incredibly powerful and loyal ecosystem, something that was firmly within his circle. Buffett's sixth and most famous move is captured in two simple rules. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Now, he's not saying a stock's price will never go down. He's talking about the permanent loss of capital. He gets a mathematical truth most investors forget. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain just to get back to even. Avoiding the big mistakes is more important than chasing spectacular gains. This is why Berkshire Hathaway is known for holding a massive cash reserve, which fluctuates but often sits well over $100 billion. In bull markets, holding cash can feel like a missed opportunity, but Buffett sees it as strategic ammunition. That cash ensures he never has to sell good assets at bad prices during a downturn. More importantly, it lets him act decisively when fear takes over the market. During the 2008 crisis, when credit markets were frozen, Berkshire was able to be a lender of last resort to companies like Goldman Sachs, securing incredibly favorable terms. His discipline in the good times allowed him to be powerful in the bad times. The final move powers all the others. Buffett understands that knowledge compounds just like money. You could argue his real job isn't managing money, it's acquiring and processing information. Since the beginning of his career, he has spent the majority of his day, some say up to 80%, just reading. He reads hundreds of pages of annual reports, industry journals, and books. He's not looking for stock tips, he's slowly building a massive mental library of how different businesses and industries work. This gives him a huge information advantage. When an opportunity finally comes along, he can draw on decades of accumulated knowledge to make a quick and confident decision. His deep understanding of the insurance industry, for example, allowed him to see the hidden genius of Geico. He realized its float, the premiums collected before claims are paid, was like a massive interest free loan that he could invest. That insight alone helped fuel Berkshire's growth. He famously said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." For Buffett, learning isn't a one time thing, it's the daily work of his profession. He does the reading himself, compounds his knowledge, and trusts that this leads to better decisions over time. So, how did a failing textile mill become a nearly $1 trillion empire? It wasn't one move, it was the relentless daily application of these 7 principles. 1. Master value investing. Buy businesses, not blinking lights on a screen. 2. Demand a margin of safety. Create a buffer because you will be wrong sometimes. 3. Concentrate on quality. Own wonderful companies, not just cheap ones. 4. Think in decades. Let compounding do the heavy lifting for you. 5. Know your limits. Stay inside your circle of competence. 6. Preserve your capital. Don't forget rule number 1. 7. Compound your knowledge. Outlearn and outread everyone else. The genius of Warren Buffett isn't that he can predict the future. It's his unshakable discipline to stick to these core ideas, no matter what Wall Street is screaming about. He proved that building lasting wealth isn't about luck or complexity. It's about solid habits, endless patience, and a commitment to lifelong learning. So, here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Which of these 7 rules do you find the hardest to follow, and why? I'm curious to know. Thanks for watching.